Today's topic is G Suite, how ransomware will evolve this year. Everybody is very familiar with ransomware. We're not going to go into great detail explaining what ransomware is. What we're going to talk about is what's been changing in the last year and what we've discovered. We have a very active relationship with a couple of major SaaS providers. Spin.ai has a product which David's going to talk about in more detail in a few minutes. But one of the things is we have a front row seat to what's happening in ransomware and security, because we see all these security incidents as they're happening live within the cloud. We have a fair amount of insight into not only what's happening, what the attacks are, but also what the trends are. So everyone's very familiar, like I said, with ransomware. There's no sense over-explaining it, but let's get serious in the sense that it's industrialized. Basically, commercial firms have weaponized some tools that have been released either through, in many cases, government agencies, unfortunately, from several countries, not just one. These have been used to break into systems and obviously to encrypt the data with super strong encryption to shut down systems. And it's causing major business disruption. It's probably killed some people. There are probably some hospital patients that have died over it. I have no direct evidence of that, but we certainly know there are a fair number of hospitals that have been hacked in a serious way. It's cost tens of millions of dollars, if not more, and it's evolving. The most important thing about ransomware is two things. Number one, it's growing, and number two, it's evolving. So what we're going to talk about today is a little bit about where ransomware attacks have come from historically up till now and what the changing environment is going to be. So you can go to the next slide. So I'm going to turn this over to David. He's an expert at this. He's a technical expert in cybersecurity. He's got several certifications in it, but more importantly, he lives in our labs and he sees what's going on in this environment. So he's going to walk you through this new topic, which is how the evolution of ransomware is happening in this year. And we're also going to take a little look at some technical solutions that people are deploying. So David, over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Grover. All right. Thanks for having me. Here at Spin Technology, I have the opportunity to work with our ransomware research lab, where, as Grover said, we analyze the present and future, looking at trends of the malware that has been doing some serious damage lately. And I want to talk about a bit more about it. Let's see. All right. Currently, the most common way for a ransomware to gain entry to your account data is through phishing emails. And these phishing emails contain links to web pages that impersonate a brand, such as a vendor, cloud service provider, or a bank. And the people behind these attacks are extremely smart. They manage to make it seem like the real deal. Once you enter your account information, bank data, or other critical information, they immediately gain access and begin taking over. So they can download infected files to your account, or they can take over your account and your contacts. But let's talk about what the future holds for ransomware. And it's pretty apparent that ransomware has already entered the cloud. Kevin Mitnick even coined the term ransom cloud. I'm sure you guys have heard of this. Clicking on one malicious link can lead to the encryption of all your emails and data in real time, and even the rest of your organization if you have administrative permissions. After some extensive research here at Spin, we've concluded that the future of ransomware in the cloud is through marketplace applications and extensions. And just think about it. I mean, how many times have we installed applications and granted them access without batting an eye? For example, check out the application on screen over here. It's requesting permissions to read and change your data, to manage your apps, extensions, themes, and to be able to communicate with cooperating native applications. And with one click, we provide these apps with all sorts of access. And these applications can be either already malicious, just waiting to gain entry, to gain access and infiltrate our data. They can be apps that have been compromised over time and are able to be compromised again, or apps that are easily vulnerable and exploitable. Shadow IT is also more and more common, and these are applications and infrastructures managed and utilized without knowledge of the IT department. So you don't know what they're doing. And it's important to be wary of them and understand what exposure comes from these shadow IT apps, especially with a growing number of SaaS applications. This is crucial. And we need more information as to what each application does to our environments. So checking out the SpinOne tool, we've built the ultimate cloud application monitoring and protection platform, which provides visibility on what's going on in an organization. And the key here is automation. Automated recovery of files in a case where they've been affected, automated countermeasures deployed to eliminate risks, analyzing the root of a problem, shutting down the source of an attack, 24/7 monitoring of users and files. So user behavior monitoring is not just sufficient because files can be encrypted without the knowledge of what's going on the user. So it's important to have full visibility. And these changes are monitored and initiate a remediation in case an attack occurs. And these all combine to also form the SpinOne package of all of these features. But what is SpinOne? Let's see what it's composed of. As you can see here, it's composed of Spin Backup, Spin Security, and SpinAudit. Spin Backup, at the root of it all, provides automated backups of your G Suite data. They're essential. Spin Security provides the patented AI-based ransomware protection, which has the ability to detect and stop the source of an attack, preventing organizations from data loss and encryption. It also tracks abnormal behaviors, letting you know in case someone is accessing the organization without your knowledge. SpinAudit uses machine learning to perform security assessments of applications, providing information on how much access they have to your critical data and who is using them in the organization. Also letting you know if it's safe to use or not, so you can blacklist the whitelist applications based on your own analysis. Along with that comes the user and data audit.
David, I've got a question that's already come in on what you just said. Yeah, the question is that static or dynamic? That is, do you keep a list of trusted and untrusted apps, or are you monitoring them in real time?
Oh no, we're monitoring them in real time. So this is very dynamic. Applications change over time. So along with each application change comes a new assessment where we look out for new exposures or vulnerabilities. All right, heading back to the SpinAudit, the user and data audit, you can monitor for abnormal behavior and minimize data that is shared outside of your organization to third parties. Because the more data that is shared outside your organization, the more applications that have access to your environment, the more risks you have of being exposed to an attack. And breaking down what SpinOne is, I want to show you guys what it looks like in more detail. Let's switch over to some screenshots. We're looking at the Spin Security tool right now, which has an active 24/7 state scanner in place. And besides stopping the source of the attack, the solution can also automatically recover any files that were affected in the meantime. And this is where the backups are key, because we have a previously safe version of them. We also analyze file behavior to detect when an anomaly has occurred. We've done some research here, and this is the #1 way to detect and stop a ransom cloud attack. The whole process of detecting an attack, stopping the source, and recovering all of the data takes only a matter of minutes, and there's no human input required at all, which is the beauty. We've simulated 5 ransomware attacks here, all of which have been successfully stopped and remediated in a short manner. Let's dive into an attack and see into more detail. And you can see the total number of files affected and that they have all been successfully recovered. It also allows you to see when the attack started, when it finished, and how long the process took in its entirety, along with the ability to see which users' files have been affected. Because it's important to know where the attack started from, to pay attention to commonalities of where future attacks may come from. Now, covering Spin Security, let's go over to SpinAudit. And like I said, applications are the future of ransomware attacks, and these are what we give access to, and we need to be wary of them. We can see a list of all applications that have been installed in the G Suite organization. This is done by launching scans to detect new applications, or how usage of a current application has changed. Each application is associated with its risk score using machine learning, being marked either trusted, may have risk, or risky. And one analysis is not sufficient because these applications are constantly changing. So when changes occur, a new assessment is generated and presented. And the lower the risk score of an application, the more access it has and the more vulnerable it is to being exposed to an attack. Now, looking at it in a general point of view, let's head over to an application and see into more detail. Each analysis comes along with an overview of what permissions have been granted and what possible risks they may entail. The application at hand, for example, has full account access once installed, and SpinAudit recommends checking out to see whether it is necessary to grant this application with such sort of access. Administrators can also check to see who's using these applications and can remove access if needed. So you have the ability to see that user A and user B are using these applications, to remove access to user A if it's not needed, and the ability to see whether the application has a positive history or not. This powerful tool is essential for any environment. With apps and plugins facing this sort of exposure, SpinAudit provides a security assessment for administrators to be able to see and take action when needed. There's hackers using these applications to gain access to your data, and there's also employees stealing inside information. So it's necessary to analyze each and every app for data leak prevention. In the future, the solution will also let you know whether an application meets your organization compliance needs or not, and this is critical in the data environment. What SpinAudit does is it allows you to detect possible threats, and based on an application's analysis, it lets you also take action by creating custom organizational rules or blacklisting applications that are unsafe in an environment. And with automated scanners in place, administrators can monitor for abnormal behavior and continue their successful operations. It's a multi-step process which lets you have full visibility of the environment. All right. And SpinOne is partnered with Google Cloud, AWS, and Azure, which all allow us to provide such a powerful tool to any G Suite and Office environment. That's about it from me, Grover.
Okay, thank you very much, David. So the gist of this, of course, is that it's more than just training people not to do phishing attacks, and it's more than having a backup. There is a new vulnerability. It's significant. There are thousands of marketplace apps in the Google Marketplace. Google reviews them all the time, but we do something a little different. What we're doing is we're looking at their actual behavior. We're not analyzing static code. We're actually analyzing the behaviors, and we'll detect new vulnerabilities. There is a question panel in GoToWebinar. I've got several questions here. The first question I have is, do you publish a list of suspect or poorly rated apps? David, do we publish a list?
Publish. No, we don't publish for many reasons. We don't have a public list available. We do have a current list of risky and low-rated applications that we've already analyzed, but the thing is that these applications are constantly changing every day, and with every change comes a new assessment. And because of a new update or a patch and a new version, so we do not publish it publicly.
Okay. There's a couple of questions about overhead and scale. So let's ask the scale questions first. So one person wants to know, would it work for 10,000 users, for example? So can you give us an idea of how much we've scaled and what we've already been deployed into?
Oh, sure. Yeah. We've already deployed SpinOne, the complete package, into thousands of organizations, several of which actually have over 100,000 users. We can fully scale and meet any organization's needs by working with Google. It's definitely possible.
Okay. How about performance? Does this have any impact? If you're an end user in an organization that's using Google Apps, do you see any performance issues when this kind of, because that's one thing people complain about a lot, frankly, with things like anti-malware. One of the most common complaints is I installed it on my machine and everything's really slow. What does the end user see?
Well, the end user doesn't experience any performance impact. We work with Google API. Being a Google partner, this allows us to scale the calls and infrastructures dynamically as needed. So working with Google, we can perform these services in such a way where performance isn't impacted at all.
Okay. So can the administrators actually see every app that anyone has installed into the Google Suite?
Yes. Any app that is installed or has been installed, and the shadow applications that we were talking about, these are all visible, and an assessment is provided on each one. So even if no user is using it, you can still see the sort of access it has to your environment.
Okay, so that's, I mean, in a big organization, I'd expect that's a pretty big list.
Correct. Especially if you have over 1,000 users, the number of applications keeps growing daily, and it's important to stay on top of that and to monitor the amount of access that's been given out.
And so can you filter down to just the highest exposure ones? I know you saw them on the screen, but can you sort it? Can you look for the most exposed ones? Okay.
Definitely. You can sort it. You can only see the ones that have the highest risk. You can download it and do some actions on it on Excel. And you can even create custom rules where SpinOne takes action based on a risk score given.
Okay. What's the recovery process like? If in fact, let's suppose I'm in the hospital and I get a ransomware attack through one of these apps, how long does it take your products to detect it, to block it, and then recover? How long do those three things take? Because you said you've got those. You've got the detection, the blocking, and then the remediation. How long does all that take?
It's only a matter of minutes. Once we detect an anomaly, we use file behavior to detect when an attack has occurred. And once we detect that an attack has occurred, we immediately take action by locating the source. So which application is causing the encryption of these files? We locate the source, we block the source, and remediate by recovering on any files that were affected. And this is only a matter of minutes. We've also done a regular event showing this, and we can provide a demo if necessary on how the process works.
Okay, that's very helpful. I do have some questions here which are very infrastructure specific and talk about particular branded apps, and we'd rather not talk about individual vendors in a public forum, to be honest. So what we're going to do is, if you need more information, send us an email and we can do a little, like David said, we can do a private demo for you.
Yep, just reach out to us and we'll be able to assist.
Okay. Thank you very much, David. That's very helpful. I'm sorry to hear about this development, to be honest. I was hoping if we just trained everybody to not respond to spear phishing attacks, that the world will be a safer place. What you're telling us is the bad guys are getting access to places that that may look pretty harmless to users, because some of these insecure apps come from, frankly, pretty trusted names.
That's correct. Yeah. And that's not enough. A brand is not just enough to assess that an application is safe or not. We have to see what sort of access is given and what sort of vulnerabilities exist in the application itself in order to make our assessment of whether we want to continue using applications or not. Every application is a possible risk that can one day exploit our data.
So if you need more information, go to Spin.ai. We're in the Google Marketplace. For larger companies, of course, they usually want to contact us directly. Most larger organizations don't want to just go to the Google Marketplace and install, but you can. So we're standing by for help, and if you've got any technical questions, you can just respond to the email you got for this, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you very much. This event has been recorded, and we will send everybody a copy of the recording for the event. Thank you for attending.